Hello and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. Today we have Netflix 379th film from 2021. It's the Indian Hindi language comedy drama called Sardar Ka Grandson. It's directed by Kashfi Nar and stars Arjun Kapoor, Neena Gupta and Rakul Preet Singh. I'm Jesse, I'm your host. Thanks for joining me for this international film today. As always, if you haven't seen this film and you're interested in checking it out, give us a pause and come back a little bit later on because we will spoil the film as we go through this episode. And we do start our show with the Fast Flicks, where we do a quick little summary of what the film's all about. So this one, it's about a grandson who wants to fulfill his grandmother's dying wish of seeing her family home. And there's lots of things, I guess, in between that little Fast Flicks line that may create some disruptions from him being able to do this for her. So how did this end up on Netflix? There's not an awful lot with this international film. The film was originally titled Kalo, and it's from director Kashfi Nar. She came upon the story of a man who waited for 70 years to catch a glimpse of his house in Pakistan. So this is obviously an Indian film. This is obviously about an Indian family and right near the border of India and Pakistan, who obviously have a bit of a tumultuous relationship. So she was touched by the poignant tale and chose to weave a film around this story. The film was meant to be theatrically released, but was pushed to Netflix and streaming because of the COVID pandemic. So we go back to principal photography beginning on the 16th of November 2019. So, and obviously hit Netflix on the 18th of May 2021 worldwide. This film did have 1 win and 5 further nominations across Indian award ceremonies, in particular for the female cast, mainly in acting as well. So, some translations around the world, as we said before. So, this is about a grandson doing what he can for his grandmother. In Spanish and German, it's called Sardar's grandson. That makes sense. Sardar is the grandmother. In Portuguese, it's Sardar's last wish. Again, that ties in with what I said before. In French, it's called Beyond Borders. So, they've gone more for that idea of the Pakistan and India border and the troubles amongst there as well. In Czech, Hungarian and Japanese and Chinese, it's called Last Wish. Again, ties in with Sardar's wish. In Romanian, it's called One Last Wish. In Russian, it's called just Grandson. And Vietnamese, it's called Sardar and his nephew. Really poor in their translations sometimes, as usual. The working title was Ek Villain 2, which I don't understand and does not make any sense for me. All right, let's talk about the critics and audiences. What are they saying about this film? On Rotten Tomatoes, this sits at a paltry 20%. That's on 10 reviews, so that is definitely rotten. Audience a little bit more reasonable. Sits at 41%. That's on less than 50 ratings, though. There is nothing on Metacritic for this one, and the other numbers are very low. IMDb, it sits at a 4.3 out of 10. That's only on 5,000 ratings, so not many people have logged that. And again, on Letterboxd, only been logged or rated by 661 people. It sits at a 2.8 out of 5, but has been logged by a bit over 1,000 people. So you would happen to say not many people have seen this film. What did I think when I watched this one? I think the biggest crime of this film, almost a crime that it commits, is that it doesn't know what it wants to be. If you look, if you took all of the try-hard comedic elements away, you could have just made this a nice drama and it might have worked a bit better. So I think that's where it doesn't know what it wants to be. So let's talk about the characters. I'm going to focus obviously on Amrik. So he's the grandson. He's this guy. He lives in Los Angeles with his fiancée Radha. They run a transport company. They have issues. They split up. This leads to Amrik coming home to India as well because his grandmother Sardar is ill and dying and not very well. So the idea, I guess, is that he never takes responsibility for his actions and is almost seen as someone who has never grown up. And I found him a character that I just could not connect with. He was rubbish. We talk about his grandmother Sardar. So obviously Amik's grandmother, last stages of her life, we see throughout the film, had to flee Pakistan with her newborn child, which is Amrik's father, by herself on a bike that her husband created, and she used this bike design to be successful in making them, and has this almost fortune, it appears, that all of the family are fighting over as she's on her deathbed. And they're all random characters that don't need to be there. She seems to have always been a pretty upfront person, says what she wants to say, and she's not allowed back into Pakistan because of previous disrespect that she's shown, in particular to the mayor of the town on the other side of the border, and she has this anti-national status in Pakistan too, so almost like a public enemy. Radha, I mentioned before, this is Amrik's girlfriend. She's in the opening scene, they break up, and then only rocks up late in the film to sort of get him out of a bad situation. This side love story almost wasn't needed because it was very, like, they were trying to make this comparison between Sardar and the 70-year grief that she's felt of losing her husband and their short-lived relationship. It didn't quite make sense for me. The mayor is the villain in this film, just this flat-out villain. And the only other character is this kid called Choti, little Pakistani kid. Remind me of one of those little annoying kids from like the 1980s sort of films like Indiana Jones or the Goonies, just like some sort of comedic relief almost. Alright, the director, Kashfi Nar, 5 directing credits, music videos, television. This looks like to be her feature film debut, so I'm kind of interested to see where she goes because like this is a mixed bag, as I sort of touched on before. We'll talk about some scenes that I liked, some things that didn't work, things that I liked. There's a moment where it's like a flashback of Sardar leaving her burning town in Pakistan to cross the Indian border with her son and a bike, and this is cut and edited so nicely with Amrique doing the opposite trek from India into Pakistan to go and get this redemption almost for his grandmother and to find the house that she grew up in, but the family home that she was going to build a family with. That was nice. There's a moment where Radha rocks up to stop Sardar's house from being knocked down, and she quotes this law or this act of 1997, something along the lines of Kevin Peters, and I laughed. I thought that was quite funny, and especially when she tells Amrique to, he's like, how did you find that out? And she's like, do some research. I also liked when Amrique tells Radha that Sardar is the sort of person that will never apologize, so we're never going to be able to get this house, and her comment is that, is your whole family like that? Just such a good whack at him. Finally, Sardar goes into her home at the end. They manage to lift up her house, bring it all the way back to India, and the walls coming alive. That was really nice, but the rest of it was so drawn out, so a little bit of a mishmash there for me. So some things that didn't work. The opening shots, they're meant to be in LA. The couple in LA, so weirdly lit, such bad lighting. It was so bad, and it was just this setup of Amrique being an absolute loser. Like lines to his partner Radha, like, stop forcing me to eat fruit. I'm a man, not a monkey. Like, come on. And then when she tells him, like, it's over, I've had enough with you, and he's like, well, who's going to take care of me? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm joking. It's not funny. And also the idea that after that, then he's like, well, take me how I am or leave. Come on, man, you're not that good. Like, really poor opening for a character. This was also followed up by a song about like separation, and straight away I was like, oh, this isn't one of those Bollywood style films, and it just didn't put me in the mood knowing that this was going to be one of those types of films where there's songs chucked in every now and then. We get the first shot of Grandma Sardar, and just the worst makeup. This is meant to be a 90-year-old, and she did not look 90 years old. That just threw off a little bit. Amrique, he rocks up at the family home after flying back from America, and he's attacked by the family dog, and then goes to the grandma and cries about breaking up with his fiancée. It was just one of those moments that was really poor. And then Amrique goes for a run with his headphones in, and there's this song using repetitive lyrics, and I was just like, not in the mood again. And then Amrique stumbles across videos online of companies moving trees. So, of course, as an audience that this is going to be, oh, I can move a house because his grandma's not allowed into Pakistan to see the house, so he can move the house. And then he makes a comment to the family about, like, I'll show you Netflix on YouTube. Just, what the? They didn't. Anyway, the whole wedding that Amrique and Radha, they get randomly invited in the town that they're trying to move the house to this big wedding for this big dance number that just was not needed. And then finally, the conclusion of the film, we get the house is reunited, everyone's happy, and then this is like 10-second summary at the end where we hear that grandma lived another 7 years, and I got married, and I had kids, and I moved back to America, and I named my kids after my grandma. It wasn't needed, like, just too in your face. Anyway, the themes, the ideas, obviously that partition between India and Pakistan and the bureaucracy and how that's continuing today. Romance as well, we see that through Grandma, and life without love, how hard it can be, and needing to cherish those memories at times too. The idea of upcoming death and having to deal with this too, while also trying to fulfill the things that you wanted to complete in your present life as well. And home, what home means. Home's filled with memories, and paint can fade, but the memories don't fade too. And to keep your word, promises, lies, the impact they can have, and the pain that they create too. What did I take away from this one? I think, I've sort of touched on this already. The songs in Indian films, they just don't hit for me. If they aren't helping tell the narrative, and I guess that they try to through the lyrics, but often for montages, and just drew out what a film this was, which I'm going to lead into my questions and thoughts and ponderings and ideas, because this film was 2 hours and 20 minutes. Why? What on earth? A 90-minute film of this would have been tight, there was just too much too much fluff in this film, and that was frustrating too. And the same with characters. Too many family characters that were barely touched on, weren't needed. Yes, we get the idea everyone's fighting for a fortune, but it reminded me of another Indian film we did recently where it was just ridiculous. Too many people in this house that I guess that's trying to represent real life, but on film it doesn't work. And like that, the set, the actual house in Pakistan, it just reeked of looking like a set. It didn't look like a home, and the fact that it looked exactly the same from the flashbacks of 70 years prior was just a joke, and took away from a lot of the believability of the film, I guess. And there's a website called Film Companion. They did a great job of summarizing a lot of things that I was thinking, and I've sort of summarized their words as well. But the idea that the film's too long, there's a pointless love story in there, there's bad dialogue, there's unnecessary flashbacks, there's pointless family banter with all these extra family people, there's pointless songs, there's bad prosthetics, and it just went on. And I thought that was a really good way of putting it together. Like, these are those things that, aren't necessarily needed. And then finally, too, we obviously had the mayor as being the bad guy or the villain of the film, giving Emmerich such a hard time. And the police officers, they support the mayor throughout. But then at the end, they just do a 360-degree complete turn and start supporting him on his escort out of Pakistan into India. It just felt weird that they were just so quick to turn on the mayor. Anyway, I'm ready to wrap this one up. We give the film a rating out of 5 on this show. For me, I was ready to give this a super low rating, but I did enjoy some of the sentimental stuff and the idea of fulfilling a dying person's wish and how Emmerich did go about this. Even if I didn't like him as a character, I'm tossing turning what I'm going to give this. I'll give it a 2 out of 5. I think that's probably a little bit high, but 2 out of 5 for me. There are some nice parts in it. It is just way too long, and it should have been cut down so badly. Anyway, we are on socials. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have X, formerly known as Twitter. For socials this week, the question I wanted to put out was the idea of a house and a home, and does a house mean anything without the people living in it? And I guess I sort of touched on before the idea of memories, and you can relive those memories by being in the location, but memories can still be experienced or reflected on in places other than the location they occurred in. So I think it was hard, especially knowing that that her husband had been murdered and killed in this house too. The idea of such a connection to it just felt a little bit, I don't know, and it's not like they had so many great memories with the children or anything like that. So it was very, very interesting, very interesting. Other than that, we are back next week. Next week, we are back with a film from 2021. It's a post-apocalyptic zombie heist film called Army of the Dead. This one's directed by Zack Snyder and stars Dave Bautista, Ella Purnell, Omari Hardwick, Anna de la Regrega, Theo Rossi, Matthias Schwelghofer, Nora Anzeder, Hiroki Sanada, Tig Notaro, Raul Castillo, Huma Koresh, and Garrett Dillahunt. So if you are keen on that one, join us next week. A little bit of a spoiler. We released the episode for this when the film actually came out back in 2021. So my voice will be 4 years in the past when you actually listen to that one next week. So I will be obviously back recording the week after because I'm just going to re-release that same episode. Not going to re-look at it, so I will re-put it back in the feed. But that is our episode for next week. As always, thank you for joining me today. It's sometimes hard to flesh out a full international film episode, but I feel like we've done a good enough job. I feel like I didn't sell the film, but I didn't completely turn you away from it. So thanks for listening, and you'll hear my voice from the past next week.